A top secret location. It's the spies who love me, bringing together MeTV's top super spies to fight evil at a memorable moment's notice. They're daring.
That's right.
Brave.
Now what are we gonna do?
The best we can.
Suave.
Does that apply to me, Oscar?
Possibly.
And smart.
The old finger in the gun trick.
Maxwell Smart.
MeTV Fresno, channel 43.6 and Xfinity 187.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Thursday morning. Today it's Ask an Expert Day, and we have an expert in the house talking about insurance. What kind of insurance? We'll tell you in mere moments, my friends. 436-MeTV, option 11. Do call in. We've got an open line. Back in just a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Welcome back to the program here on Connect with Me. It's a Thursday morning, my friends, and the week is almost gone. Hey, a reminder, a special program tomorrow and on Monday. We're going to kind of focus on what's happened over at the Fresno Police Department. Put out a request of Fresno Police Chief Jerry Dyer, this investigation into Chief Keith Foster and what happened there. With his arrest by the FBI and the ATF. So we'll talk about that tomorrow with a panel of people here on the show. And then, hey, Monday, I think our friend Dennis Hart's going to be here. That guy's covered everything under the sun here in Fresno, maybe as much as George Hostetter, the Fresno Bee. So we'll be talking about that in the next couple of days. I doubt we'll get a reaction from the chief himself because, you know, this is an investigation that's being done by the feds. So, you know, maybe he has to keep a lid on it until this whole thing blows over. This thing hasn't even gone to trial yet. He's only been charged, so we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, I want to extend our thoughts and prayers out to the firefighter injured over the weekend. Let's roll a videotape. We've rolled that the last couple of days. The video is very graphic, as you know, and you've seen this probably hundreds of times on YouTube. In fact, it's got an incredible reaction across the country. So many people reacting and weighing in and pitching in thoughts and prayers to the family. Keep in mind, it's graphic. Sunday, Fire Captain Pete Dern climbed onto the roof, as you see here, the garage. It collapsed. He fell right through. Very graphic indeed, sending him tumbling into the inferno. Dern suffered second, third-degree burns to 65% of his body. And, of course, he remains in serious condition. He had an operation, a skin graft, yesterday. He was temporarily taken off that ventilator, as I understand. 25-year veteran of that department. He already has gone through 2 surgeries. Doctors say these are life-threatening injuries that Dern suffered. You know, after falling through that garage roof, look at that inferno, rescued by several of his mates, his firefighters, within just minutes. Fortunately, my friends, he was wearing all of his protective gear. Otherwise, he would be, well, he wouldn't be with us today. We wish Dern, again, a speedy recovery, and again, thoughts and prayers to the family. Reaction coming in from not only the Central Valley here, but all over California and the entire nation. The firefighters, certainly a big family across the country. All right, to our main topic of the day here. And I do want to remind you before I get to that, hey, you're watching us on Comcast, channel 187 and 43.6 live each and every day on this program on MeTV. And then as we expand here through the many months ahead, you can catch the replay at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6, and 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. That's with a digital antenna. But for now, you're watching us on Comcast and then 43.6 and 13.1. Follow me on Twitter at John Mallos, MeTV. The main focus today is insurance. And so what is the deal with insurance, and what must you have if you own assets across the board? We're going to talk about that today. Let's roll the videotape. And you know, if you own a house, a beautiful house like this one or any other one, or even if you own like a simple 2-bedroom house that has 1 bathroom, it doesn't matter. It's a big asset. It's huge. You have to insure it. We have an expert in the house talking about everything you should know about house insurance, and much more. It's not just covering your home, though. It's what type of coverage is best for you and your needs at the time. How big is your home? Do you have a shake roof? Do you have a composition roof? Do you have a tile roof? Hey, how about earthquake or flood insurance? Or is there some type of different coverage that you might need if you live up in the hills? And you think you may need an umbrella policy, possibly because of all your assets? We'll talk about that. You know, like a boat, a cabin, second or a third home, maybe several cars. I guess you have a lot of money if you've got all that, right? Anyway, we'll explain all of that with the umbrella policy. You can also throw in liability insurance if you'd like, to fend off any potential lawsuit, trying to make sense of all this. What in the world am I talking about today? Anyway, live in our studio right now is Alicia Dias. She's a State Farm agent, and she is here today. Former CPA, too, by the way. She is here to answer any and all of your questions relating to insurance and umbrella policies and all that kind of stuff. 436-ME-TV, option 11 is the telephone number. You're welcome to call in. It's Ask an Expert Day. It's Thursday on ME-TV Fresno. Back in a moment.
You can find movies on over-the-air channel 13.3. Movies. Our name says it all.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the low-price leading brands reliable advice place. The Frigidaire Gallery Dream Kitchen Get Yours Today place. You with me? Right now, get huge savings on select Frigidaire Gallery appliances and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months at the hometown low price think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Oh my God, hit me in the head. How many times, Alicia, how many times do you want to hit me in the head?
Once will do.
Okay, go ahead. All right. Go ahead. It's farmers. Bum,
That's
bum,
right.
bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
I won't mention that other name again.
Zip.
Oh my God.
Actually, people make that mistake all the time. All the time. You're forgiven.
All right. Should I eat this piece of paper here that says the other name? Anyway. Oh my God. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. So in the monologue, I went through all these, these topics that we're talking about, umbrella policy, and if you have a car, if you have a home, a boat, this and that. These are all complex issues, and you deal with these all the time. How long have you been in the insurance business?
7 years.
7 years. Mm-hmm. And so when people come into your office, are they oftentimes, do they know what insurance is all about, or are they oftentimes confused about new laws that come out and things of that nature?
Very common. Most people do not really understand insurance. They don't understand their coverages and what those mean. But we do our best at my agency to make sure by the time somebody leaves our office that they fully understand what coverages they have and why they have them, so that they have that confidence that if something goes wrong, they know they're covered. But it's very common that most people don't understand insurance.
Why is it so complex? And here's the other, you don't deal with car insurance, right?
I do.
Oh, you do deal with
absolutely.
car insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, before we get into this, I have a complaint. Why is it that when I have a clean record and I pay my insurance premiums on my car, and then let somebody nicks me in the parking lot or bumps into me, is my insurance going to go up?
No.
Oh, it won't?
No, if it's not your fault, your insurance will not go up.
If it's my fault, though, it might.
It might. It depends. If you have a program where they have some sort of a accident forgiveness, which in a lot of states they do, unfortunately they don't in California, it depends on how much is paid out on the accident as to whether or not your rates are going to go up. But that's one thing that a lot of people don't really get, is they think they come in and they buy a policy and they've got a clean record and they're just getting the standard rate. What they don't realize is they're actually getting a very favorable discounted rate because they have a clean record. Most people don't have clean records. It's very common that we've got people that have a ticket, they've got an accident, they have something in their history. So the average person does not have a clean record. So their rates are going to be the standard rates. So if you've had a preferable rate for quite a long time because you don't have any tickets or accidents, now you've just become a standard person, and so your rate is going to go up. It's not that people will think I pay and I pay and I pay in, and then the first time I use it, now you're going to ding me. It's, well, you've been paying a very low rate, though. We've been giving you a discount because we believed that you weren't a big risk.
Well, in 2008, let me ask you this, and we'll get into all, I mean, we have an hour here. We're going to talk about all this. In 2008, I was near First and Shaw, and I was waiting at a red light. I know we only got a couple minutes. I got to go to break already. I was waiting at a red light. This is 2008. My kids were fighting in the back seat. I turned around for a split second, stepped on the gas pedal, and smashed into the truck in front of me and totaled my car. Is that still on my record?
2008? No,
it's not.
And typically, it's only going to affect your record for 3 years, that type of an accident. But there are companies like Farmers Insurance that gives you discounts if you have a clean record for 5 years. But either way, you're clear by now. That's 7 years ago.
That's one of the worst I've had ever. But even though it was, I mean, everything is an accident. I mean, and that's what it's called. It's accident. But in that kind of a situation, would I have been penalized?
Oh, yes, because you would have been found to be negligent. The accident was your fault. The person who was in front of you that you hit, they hadn't done anything. So.
Yeah. Hey, let's take a break, and we're going to come back and talk about all this. We have a bunch of full screens we want to put up, and we want to encourage you to call in today because Alicia is here, Alicia Dias from Farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Okay, 436, Me TV, option 11. I love that theme song, by the way. I wish we'd have pulled that so we could play it on the air. Anyway, we're back in just a moment here on Connect with Me in just a moment.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy.
The Men of Chips are on Me TV.
Hi, I'm John Baker.
I'm John Baker. It's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there.
Officer Poncherello, ma'am.
Frank Poncherello.
Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada on
Now
Chips.
on Me TV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
We're back here on the program talking about insurance. We're talking with Alicia Dias with an S at the end of it, my friends. That's right, and she works for Farmers. And so what about these insurance reviews? What are these, and how much weight do they carry?
Insurance reviews are a critical part of making sure that your insurance stays up to date.
What are they?
An insurance review is you sit down with your agent and you basically look at your assets and your income at that point in time, and you make sure that the coverages that you have are enough to protect your level of income and assets, because people's income and assets change all the time. Your situation changes. You may get a new job and you're making more money. You may buy a house. You may have a child. You may lose a job. You may buy another car that has higher value. These things are happening all the time from year to year. And there's a lot of people that have the same coverages and same limits that they had when they first got their car when they turned 16 and when they were living at home with their parents. You're not going to need the same kind of insurance and the same coverages that you did at age 16. So you have to have at least an annual review at a minimum. With my agency, every time you have a policy that renews, we contact you, we go over it, we make sure that we don't need to make any other changes for things that have happened with your life. It's critical because if you don't do it, you have what we call gaps in your insurance, and that leaves you susceptible to lawsuits and to having to pay a lot out of your pocket.
I don't like that term or that word lawsuit because, and that's why you have liability, right? So
and every policy has liability built into it. It's just making sure that you have the right amount of liability insurance. That's the critical piece.
Yeah, I want to get into the umbrella policy, but not right now, later, because I really wasn't introduced to that until just a few years ago. I didn't even know what an umbrella policy was, but, you know, are you covered? I want to put up question number 1 here, or topic number 1, and let's put that up on the screen, and you guys out there at home watching right now, you can kind of look at that for yourself and read it, and, you know, how do you know how much coverage that you need on your home, and the difference between Market value and reconstruction costs. What does all this mean that we're looking at up here?
So when we're talking about a homeowner's insurance policy, we're looking at how much coverage you need for your home itself. We refer to that as dwelling coverage. Most people will say, well, my house is worth $150,000, so I need $150,000 worth of coverage. That's completely false.
Why?
Because the value of your home has nothing to do with the amount of coverage that you need on your home. You have to cover your home based on what we call reconstruction costs. So reconstruction costs include, let's say, God forbid, you have a fire and the house is completely destroyed, even partially destroyed. We have, first of all, demolition that has to come in. So if you imagine a home that's completely gone up in flames, we have to demolish what's remaining of the existing structure. We have to remove all the debris. Then we have to get new permits, new plans, and have everything ready to go to start the new construction. All those costs are part of reconstruction costs, and we haven't even started building the house yet. So if you're just looking at the value of your house, you're not taking into consideration these other costs. Additionally, your market value of your house includes land. We don't insure land because land can't be stolen, it can't be burnt, so you don't have to insure the land. We're just insuring the structure. Okay. So it's comparing apples and oranges. So when you're looking at reconstruction costs, you not only have to look at how much it's going to cost to rebuild your home, but you also have to look at removing the old home, getting new permits, all of that kind of stuff that's involved too.
So what's the cost difference, do you think, generally speaking, between what the house is worth, what you purchased it for, say $150,000, and the reconstruction costs?
We use kind of as a benchmark that we know we're in the right field. If you have dwelling coverage on your home, that is usually $25,000 to $50,000 more than what you consider your home to be worth, you're in good shape.
Okay, because it's going to cost more to maybe reconstruct it, or depending on how much damage there is, obviously.
Obviously, right. And you're looking at the market value of what the labor and the materials are going to cost, but you're also looking at all those other costs that are involved before we even break ground on the new construction.
So if you have a house that's worth $150,000, you want to get coverage for, say, $200,000?
$175,000 to $200,000. Now, another factor in that too is a lot of companies, including farmers, have what's called extended replacement cost coverage. And the main reason why they have that is because if there's a catastrophe in the state, which every year there's several, when there's a catastrophe in the state, if you think back to your old economics days, if demand goes up, the cost is going to go up. So if there's been a big forest fire or a mudslide or an earthquake, whatever the case may be, you're going to have a huge demand for material and labor to go in there and rebuild all those homes that have been damaged. So now the cost to rebuild your home has just gone up because the cost for the demand or the labor and the materials have increased. So we always build in an extra 25 to 50% into your policy, and it's standard in most policies to cover that inflationary factor that will happen if you have a loss at the same time that there's a catastrophe in the state.
Got it. Okay. And you know, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit too about water issues here in the state of California and how that's going to affect insurance, because now I know you know what Governor Jerry Brown has called for, at least he did yesterday. He wants all of us here in urban areas of California to cut water usage by 25%. 25. Urban use is only about 10% in the country, or the state of California, but he wants us to cut 25% of our 10% water usage. I don't know how that's going to affect home sales and insurance and all that, but 436-MeTV option 11 is the telephone number here. Maybe the front of your home will look like Phoenix, a desert. Back in just a moment. No more lawn.
Euronews, most-watched news channel in Europe.
Is taking care of laundry taking too much of your time? Have you become a missing mom? With a new fast, efficient washer and dryer from Ventura TV Video Appliance, you'll spend more of your day the way you want. Save now on Frigidaire's Advanced Affinity Laundry Pair. Let Frigidaire save you energy, water, and time. Don't spend your life on laundry. Upgrade today at Ventura TV Video Appliance and save.
Back here on the program, connect with me on MeTV Fresno on this Thursday, and I want to put up the disclaimer and just say that Alicia Dias is here from Farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. I love that theme song. 436 MeTV option 11. But the disclaimer basically says that, Alicia came here of her own free will, and we are glad to feature her on the program today to talk about, whether you want to insure your home, your car, your boat, whatever it might be. And she also sells life insurance. We'll get into that. And we'll talk about many other things, but we asked her here today to inform you, the public, about insurance. We're going to continue the conversation now. We'll get into the drought issues and the water issues and maybe talk a little bit about that. Maybe it has no effect at all on insurance, I don't know. But topic number 2, let's put that up on the screen. What kind of coverages, what coverages should be included in most policies, like just a general average policy that you want. Okay, Alicia, you pick it up from here because we're looking at all the details here in this one.
So at a minimum, you have to have your dwelling coverage. That's covering the house itself.
Okay.
Other structures, it's not really an option because it's usually built into most policies, but what that is covering is any other kind of structure that's on your property that's not connected to the house.
Like a shed?
So a shed or your fence is usually the primary one.
Mm-hmm.
Personal property is definitely a required coverage. This is covering everything that you own, your appliances, anything that you would take out of the house with you if you were to move. And the great thing about policies that, say for ours for instance, is it covers your personal property anywhere in the world. So if you're on vacation and someone breaks into your hotel room, you're covered. If you're in your car and somebody breaks into your car and steals your laptop or something, you're covered, because that's not covered in an auto policy. It's only covered on a homeowner's or a renter's policy.
What's that up there that says guest medical? What does that mean?
Guest medical, there's a standard $500 that's put in most policies, but you can raise that up if you have a guest that comes over and they get injured. Doesn't matter whose fault it is. You can put in a claim to your insurance and they'll cover up to whatever that required amount is.
For example, if a friend comes to your house, uses the restroom, slips, falls, hits her head on the tub, you're covered.
That's going to be a little different. Now we're getting into liability insurance again. But let's say, for instance, a friend comes over and they cut their finger open. They're maybe helping make dinner and they accidentally cut their finger open. You can claim that on your homeowner's insurance if you want to.
Really?
Sure.
You're talking about the medical expenses.
I'm talking about the medical expenses because sometimes people don't have health insurance. Now, even though we've got the Obamacare in place now, there's still people that it's less expensive for them to take the penalty than it is to actually for them to get insurance. So if you have someone who's uninsured, you can claim it on your homeowner's insurance.
But if somebody comes over and they slip in the kitchen, fall down and hit their head, that's liability.
If you're determined to be negligent, then yes, now we're looking at a liability issue. And liability, there's a broad scope. Let's back up just a little bit and not just talk about homeowners insurance. Let's talk about all kinds of insurance. Boat insurance, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, all have a liability factor. And what that is it's protecting you from a lawsuit. If you're found to be negligent and somehow you have injured somebody else or damaged somebody's property, you're going to get sued unless you have the right amount of liability coverage in your policy.
Yeah, but can't you get sued over anything anyway? I mean, if somebody comes up and rings your front doorbell and they slip and hit their head against the door, they could sue you, right?
They can, but then there's going to be an investigation to determine if you were negligent. Now, if there's ice on the porch that you're required to make sure that you get rid of and keep cleaned away, then most likely you're going to be responsible for that slip and fall.
But if you're covered, then your insurance will pick it up, right?
Yes, they will, but you got to make sure that you have enough insurance. So now if that person slips over their own shoelace, then the likelihood that you're going to be found responsible is very slim to none.
What if they trip on the step coming up?
It just depends on the situation. If they've got a good attorney, they're going to be out there measuring that step and making sure that it's of the legal required height. I mean, they'll do anything they can. California, people sue because the coffee's too hot, right? So the key point is to make sure that you're carrying the right amount of liability insurance that's consistent with your assets and your income. So you can state that limit and set the appropriate limits for your auto insurance, your boat insurance, your homeowner's insurance, and that's where an umbrella comes into too.
Let's put number 2 back up again, because loss of use, what does that mean? Loss of use of what?
Loss of use coverage on a homeowner's policy, this means if you've had a claim, so you've got a fire and you cannot stay in the home because of the damage until it's repaired, where are you going to live? So you have lost the use of your residence. So we're going to put you up. We're going to put you up in a hotel room until you're back in. If this is a long-term claim, then we're going to rent you a house, and your insurance company covers that. They cover the other additional out-of-pocket expenses that you're incurring because you've been displaced from your home. On an auto policy, that's going to cover you've lost the use of your car. So, say Farmers, for instance, we have what's called a K5 coverage, which means we pay you $50 a day for every day you're without the use of your car, up to $1,000.
Right.
You can use some of that to rent a car if you need to rent a car, but either way, we're paying you that money. You can use it to pay for your deductible, but we're compensating you for losing the use of your vehicle or your home.
Yeah, okay. I want to put up number 3, and we're talking about liability insurance and replacement cost versus actual cash value. We talked about what liability insurance is already. We kind of touched on that, but you know, here's the question, and this is debatable. How much of it do you need? Let's pick up on that after the phone call here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I'm curious about liability on the disabled persons. If that coverage, if you don't have things lined up on your property with the right liability insurance.
Are you talking about personal property like your home or a business?
Both.
Okay. Do you own a business or what?
Yes, I do.
So you're wanting to know about how much liability insurance should you have for those people that have special needs?
Well, if your doorways aren't wide enough, or
I see. Yeah.
Obstructions, so they don't have to get hurt on them. But if you just don't comply with every bit of the law, then
that's talking about the American Disability Act.
Okay.
So if primarily that's going to be dealing with commercial businesses, and if your businesses are not compliant with the American Disabilities Act, having the appropriate accoutrements that you need for those that are disabled, then you do subject yourself to a lawsuit, and then that again is where liability insurance is going to kick in, and you have to make sure that you have enough.
Is there a state standard for homes, like
Yes.
a driveway or a walkway when you have to come up?
There is. There is a standard for that.
For both?
There's different standards for each because homes and businesses are quite different from each other. But there are standards in place for both. There are requirements. Any new construction that goes in place obviously has to be adhering to those standards. And if you did have a loss in your home and your home is being constructed, not only is your home brought up to current building code, it's also brought up to American Disability Act standards too.
So if you own a business, do you have to have a restroom that's wheelchair accessible? You do?
You do.
According to the law?
You do.
Or you could be sued?
Yes, your counter heights have to be no higher than a certain limit. Your walkways have to be a minimum of a certain width across. There's very specific standards that are in place.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And for your home, it's much different, like you said. I want to put number 3 up again. So here's the big debate. When you go and you talk to your insurance person here, like Alicia, who's very knowledgeable, the debate is, how much liability do I need? Can I afford? Do I want?
So for liability insurance, what we're talking about primarily is covering your assets and your income. So this is why it's really important to go in and have a review with your insurance agent. So you need to make sure that you have enough liability coverage that's going to cover the value of your assets and cover your income. In the state of California, if you don't have enough insurance and you get sued, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to try to force you to sell assets. So if you have vehicles that you own outright, they'll leave you with at least one vehicle, but they can force you to sell the others. They can force you to liquidate investments, savings accounts, sell jewelry, these things of value that you have to pay off these kind of lawsuits. They're also going to garnish wages. And in the state of California, they can garnish up to 25% of your wages for up to 10 years.
Wow. Are you sure you're not talking about the IRS?
I'm not.
God,
but then
that is crazy,
making
really.
sure that you have enough coverage to make sure that you're covering the value of your assets and your income is critical. And it's not expensive.
Yeah, and you can prevent putting yourself in that position by getting enough liability coverage. That's the point. You're protecting yourself. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, I wanted to ask the young lady there, because I've been with farmers since 1985.
Oh, cool.
Thank you.
At your home insurance, if you have a couple acres and you have it fenced in with a 6-foot fence, and you have dogs, if somebody comes across your fence and steals something and your dog bites them, are you liable for it?
It actually depends, first of all, upon the breed of the dog. There are certain breeds that are excluded from coverage because they have a history of biting. So pit bulls is one of them, and I love pit bulls, and pit bulls have a bad name, unfortunately, because there's those that have been bred improperly, and they've developed a very bad reputation. But there is a small list, and it's small, of dogs that are specifically excluded. Again, if something were to happen, though, if somebody came into your property and a dog bite occurred and they sue you, your liability coverage is in place to protect you from that. And again, it's just making sure that you have the right amount.
Yeah, so you can even be sued if somebody comes onto your property and that dog bites you, depending on the breed of the dog. I did not know that.
Well, it's what I mean by that is there's certain breeds that are going to be excluded, and the insurance will not cover you if that particular breed of dog has bitten somebody. But if you have, say, a Cocker Spaniel is not on the list, and if your Cocker Spaniel bites somebody, the coverage will kick in.
Yeah, but what if you have a guard dog, like a German Shepherd or something? I mean, is that on the list too, or? A lot of people have guard dogs to protect their properties. I'm trying to remember
if German Shepherds are on the list, and I don't recall off the top of my head. But also depends too if they have a history of biting someone as well.
But see, the thing, then that takes investigations, and the other thing is you need to talk about this kind of thing to your insurance agent and tell them, look, I have a dog in the backyard. It's a pit bull or a German Shepherd, and it's a guard dog. So then you're going to get into all the questions.
But see, again, this is your insurance agent's responsibility. This is why we do the reviews. Now, when you buy a homeowner's policy from me or a renter's policy from me, I specifically will ask you that question. Do you have a dog? What is the breed? But say you buy a dog later on. If I'm not doing regular reviews with you to say, hey, by the way, any new members of the household, have you got a dog, have you got any other pets, then we're leaving that gap open. So, and yes, it is your responsibility to take care and make sure that you've got the right insurance, but you need to have a good agent in place too that's watching out for you, because most people don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm going to check my insurance coverage today. But if you've got someone who's working on your behalf and checking with you several times a year to make sure that you've got the right coverage in place, then you sleep good at night.
So you really don't want somebody to just collect your premium every month. You want an agent that's going to check on you every once in a while. And
You're paying for that agent. You make them work for you. Get your money's worth out of them and get that review done. And if you've got an agent that isn't doing that for you and you like the company, switch agents.
Okay.
If you're not happy with the agent and you're not thrilled about your rate, shop around. But people that go on Esurance or Progressive or Geico, and I don't mean any disrespect to those companies, but if you're shopping online, the likelihood that you're going to know the coverages and understand all of them and make sure that you've got the right limits and all the coverages that you need is very slim.
Yeah. By the way, Geico has a very catchy tune as well. Not like Farmers, though, right? Bum, 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 bum. I love that. 436 MeTV option 11. We're going to be back here in a moment talking insurance with Alicia Dias from Farmers. We're back in just a second.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
It's almost time. Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent, Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman?
Fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the MeTV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The adventures of Superman.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program. Hey, today is Thursday morning. That means Ask an Expert Day, and I'm so glad you're here, Alicia.
Thank
You're
you.
doing
Happy to be
great.
here.
Hey, thank you. You're so knowledgeable and articulate, and you know, I appreciate all the information. And so let me ask you before we get into number 4 here, the topic, and that is, so what is the difference between, and I know you work for farmers, and I apologize for that major faux pas.
You're forgiven.
The top of the program, but what's the difference, say, between what Farmers does, what all these other agencies like Geico does? I think Geico's got some, you know, the gecko commercial.
Yes. Well, you know, if you
It's
want a
funny.
gecko, if you want
a gecko, get a gecko.
Get a gecko, right? The biggest thing I'm going to say is having a personal agent is a huge factor in making sure that you're maintaining the right coverage for you and your family.
Don't shop online by yourself, then.
Don't shop online by yourself. Because the chance that you're going to miss a coverage that you need. I'll give you a quick example.
Okay.
There's what's called a uninsured motorist collision waiver deductible. Sounds like a long, complicated thing. Most people are going to look at that and go, oh no, I don't need that.
Say that again?
Uninsured motorist collision deductible waiver. The average person is going to look at that and go, I don't need that.
I know what uninsured motorist means, but that other part, that second half of that,
collision
what?
deductible waiver. If you're in an accident and you are hit by someone who is uninsured,
Right.
you have to pay your deductible to fix your car, unless you have purchased the collision deductible waiver. Most people see that and they go, oh, I don't need that. But it's a big deal. And here's the amazing part. It usually costs you maybe 40 or 50 cents a month for that coverage. It's extremely cheap, but it prevents you from having to pay your deductible if an uninsured motorist damages your car.
And on average, how much are deductibles? On average? 500, 1,000?
It really just depends. It depends on your driving history. If you've got a poor driving history, I'm going to recommend that you put a lower deductible, unless you have a budget that can afford a higher deductible. On average, $1,000 is a really good mark. And if you're a good driver, that's where I would put you, unless you've got budgetary issues. The most important thing is that you've got the right coverages, the right limits, so that you don't get sued, because I would rather you have to borrow some money from mom and dad or from, one of your credit cards or something to cover a little bit higher deductible than get sued and have your wages garnished 25%.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
but again,
it's
you were
cheaper.
talking about differences between insurance companies. Insurance companies that don't have local agents.
And so what if somebody comes in and says, you know what, I don't need that. I don't need all this coverage, because chances are I'm going to go through life and I'm never going to need any of this stuff, and I'm just wasting my money. You ever get that?
I do. And there's
and your
certain people in
response
those
is?
kind of situations where I say, I'm advising this. Here's what I'm recommending. If you don't want it, sign here, just so that you know that this was offered to you and that you are declining it. And at the end of the day, you're the boss. And you can have whatever coverages you want, and you can decline whatever you want. But I have a liability risk too. That if I'm not offering you these coverages that I think are pertinent to your situation, then I'm at risk. I'm not doing my job.
yeah.
So I'm going to have you sign something so that you don't come back and sue me.
I see.
But there's certain
Wow.
coverages that everybody really needs to have, and it's your job, my job as an agent, to make sure that you have those. But it's your job too to make sure that you get somebody smart working with you, and that's why companies like State Farm, Allstate, Farmers Insurance, you have a personal agent to work for you, and they're there to protect you, and hopefully they're doing the kind of job that they should be doing. When you're going online, and if something goes wrong and you've got an insurance policy from Progressive or Geico or some of these others, if you have a claim, you're calling an 800 number. You have no idea who's on the other end of that line. If you have an accident and you're insured with my agency, you're calling me. I'm the one that's on the phone with you.
Before we move on, anything we're leaving out on liability insurance, because that's a really important topic in terms of how much you need, what you need. Anything we left out?
Not yet, but we're going to talk about umbrella policies in a little bit,
Okay.
and that's getting back into liability insurance, and that's the last big piece that we want to discuss. when
Okay,
you're
number
ready.
4 is getting a burglar alarm worth the discount. I mean, do you have a burglar alarm on your home? Do you have a burglar alarm on your car? Does that make a difference? I mean, most cars now come with a burglar alarm, especially the new cars. I don't think you can buy a new car without it having an alarm. Am I correct?
That's right.
So, do you get the discount? Is the discount worth it? Should you get an alarm for your house?
The discount is not worth getting the alarm. I'll tell you that first. The discount is small. And let me tell you why. Having an alarm is not going to stop your house from being broken into. A burglar is going to scope out the house. They're going to know exactly what they want to get. They're going to break in. They're going to have those things in their car, and they're going to be gone long before the police ever get there.
You're right, but isn't it a deterrent once they see that sign?
It is a deterrent, and it's going to stop your home from being burglarized to an extreme extent. If they know they can stay in there all day and look and search for things, great. It's going to stop the amount of loss that you're going to have, but it's not going to stop the break-in. So
but
that's
they might go to your neighbor's house.
True, they very well could. But the discount, don't get an alarm because you want the discount. Get an alarm because you want to protect your assets. With a car alarm, the discount is very small too, because it's not going to stop someone from breaking in. They can dismantle that alarm very quickly. If you want to get a big discount, then you get what's called a GPS tracking system, so that if they steal your car, we can find it. So that's going to be OnStar if you have a GM motor vehicle, or what we call a low jack. It's something that you can have installed on your vehicle that sends out a GPS signal, and they can't dismantle that, so that if they steal your car, we can find it and recoup your car.
What about, we got to go to break here. We're talking with Alicia Dias, Farmers Insurance. We're back in just a moment. 436 MeTV option 11. It's Ask an Expert Day on Connect with Me.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me, and baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
Frigidaire. It means the first refrigerator. It means a history of innovations that help make your home life better. And now we introduce the new Frigidaire French door refrigerator with over 100 ways to organize for maximum flexibility. Built with adjustable flip up and slide under shelving and stackable crisper drawers. It's the refrigerator that flexes to fit it all, no matter what your day will bring. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
436 MeTV option 11. Hey, we're talking with Alicia Dias from Farmers, and there's so many of these companies that have a very catchy a catchy theme song. It cracks me up to think about it. You mentioned during the break the General and Geico and all these. I mean, it's really, you know, it's a marketing campaign to try to reel you in.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you're going to have the coverage.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not. It's very, very rare that you will. A lot of, again, the biggest thing that you need to be careful when you get insurance is, first of all, you've got to make sure that you're getting the right coverages. A lot of companies that are advertising very inexpensive insurance, $1 a day, it doesn't include uninsured motorist coverage.
Yeah.
In the California area, especially in the Valley, we now have 39% of drivers are driving around uninsured. So that's a very high percentage, which increases the possibility of you getting hit by somebody who's uninsured. So I can certainly sell you a policy that's going to cost you maybe $14 or $15 a month, but it's not going to have uninsured motorist coverage. It's not going to have coverage to fix your car. It's basically going to have the state minimum liability coverages, and all that's going to do for you is keep your car registered. That's all it's good for.
Let's put up number 5 here, personal property, like let's say in your home or wherever. Now let me ask you this. I've had people tell me, okay, I don't keep valuable things in my home anyway, just the necessities. If you have anything valuable, put them in the safe deposit box at the bank. I mean, that's a smart way to go. But should you itemize and log every single item that's in your house and maybe go as far as taking a picture of each one?
You're never going to sit down and make a list. It's not going to happen, and it's unreasonable to think that you ever would. It would take too long. What I recommend that you do is you get a digital camera or your phone. You go in every room, open every drawer, open every closet door, and stand in the middle of the room and do a 360 and take pictures all the way around the room. Take pictures of what's in each of the drawers. And then one of your people here even had a great idea of emailing those pictures to yourself, because now you've got an electronic copy of it that's accessible from your email. But you want to take those, put them on a disk, and you either want to put that disk in a fireproof safe or put it somewhere off the premises, like in a safe deposit box or even at a friend's house. It's the easiest way to prove what you owned. But when we're talking about things like guns or jewelry or furs or hobby items or antiques, there is a limit on all of your policies as to how much coverage you have for theft. Now, they're fully covered for fire or water damage or anything of that nature, but they will limit the coverage for theft. So you have to make sure, if you have a lot of jewelry, that you either increase the limits for your jewelry, which you can do. If you have some very pricey items, you want to actually have what we call scheduling those items so that they're specifically listed on your policy and protected from theft.
Okay, what about renter's insurance? Should you do the same with the property that you have and own inside your apartment?
Absolutely. And renter's insurance is one of those insurances that people don't get, and everybody should have it. If you're not living in a home that you own, you really do need renter's insurance. It's extremely inexpensive. Most standard policies are maybe $18 to $20 a month is all, but it gives you fantastic coverage. And people will say, well, I don't have anything of value. But if your apartment goes up, now you have no clothes, you have no bed, you have no dishes, you have no furniture to sit on, you have no TV to watch, you have no towels to dry you. And having a $20,000 policy to replace all of that only costs you $18 or $20 a month is well worth it, because now you get to go buy all of that stuff brand new. And we mentioned a little bit before about the difference between replacement costs and actual cash value. You want to make sure that you get a renter's insurance policy that gives you replacement cost coverage. What that means is, if you have a loss, we're going to pay you to go buy the stuff brand new to replace what you had. If you have an actual cash value policy, we're only paying you what the stuff is worth, the depreciated value. Those policies aren't worth having. They're extremely cheap, maybe $7 or $8 a month, but they're really not worth having when for a few dollars more a month we can get you stuff brand new.
Okay.
But everybody needs that coverage.
What about, and I've been told, I've had friends, hey, get a safe. You know, get a gun safe, put all your valuables in there in the home. All right. Who's going to buy a gigantic? How are you going to get this big? I see these safes. I see them at Office Depot, Office Max. I think Costco has. You can go anywhere. Target has them. First of all, if you want a big safe, how are you going to get that thing in the house? It weighs 2 million tons.
I think they'll transport them there for you. If you buy, usually they'll get them into your house for you.
But what's the point of having a safe in your house?
If you have valuables, jewelry, guns, and if you've got a decent amount of them, it is well worth getting a gun safe or a larger safe that someone can't pick up and run out of the house with to protect all of those things. If you don't have that, then that's when you need to add those kind of coverages onto your policy to protect them from theft. But if you've got someone that has a sizable safe, gun safe usually is what they are, that you can put those things in, they're protected from fire, which is great, but that's also protected from theft. So now you don't have to worry about raising those limits, because the risk of theft has gone down exponentially.
And what about nailing or screwing that safe to the floor, if you have a smaller one?
If you've got a smaller one, if there's any way that they can get that out of the house, they're going to do it. If nailing it or screwing it into the floor is enough to deter them, then do it. But that's your call, you know. But you're trying to guarantee that there's no way that those valuables that are in that safe are going to be taken from your home during a robbery.
So it is a good idea to get a safe.
It is. It's a less expensive option in the long run than having to increase your limits on your insurance. You know, if you're paying, say, another $150 a year to cover those valuables from theft, whereas you buy a $400 safe, well, within 3 years, you've now got your money back and more, basically, because you would have paid more for the coverage than you would have paid for the safe.
Well, and it might be cheaper than having a safe deposit box at the bank, because you're paying an annual fee on that too. And not only that, the space at the safe deposit box is limited.
It's limited. So if you have a sizable amount, now obviously you can't be putting guns in a safe deposit box, but if you've got some jewelry or something that you want to put there, it's a great option to get a safe deposit box. But again, if you've got a sizable amount, and if you've got guns and things of this, that a safe deposit box isn't going to work for you, then it's a wonderful option if you can do it.
All right, Alicia Dias is here from Farmers Insurance. We're back in just a moment here on Connect with Me.
We get our speed from Mom and Dad. They do stuff super fast. And now they got this new kitchen, so they're even faster. So they can help us with our free throws.
The time-saving Frigidaire Gallery line with a quick preheat and smudge-proof stainless steel that resists fingerprints and cleans easily. It's mealtime in no time, from start to clean. Frigidaire Gallery.
Save more during Frigidaire Gallery bonus days when you buy 3 or more qualifying appliances. See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Retro TV, your home for classic television. The greatest shows in history are here for you to enjoy. Join Cosby and Colt as secret agent men in I Spy. Ride along the Ponderosa with the Cartwrights in Bonanza. Hit the beat with Joe Friday in Dragnet. And that's not all. Retro TV offers endless fun and excitement for the whole family to enjoy. Retro TV, the best in classic television.
You can find Retro TV on over-the-air channel 13.4.
Back here with Alicia Dias from Farmers, and let's get to the next topic because we're running out of time here. I want to get through these PMI. Okay, what does PMI stand for, and how does it work, and why in the heck do I need PMI?
Well, and PMI, the reason why I know about that is working with mortgage companies. PMI is mortgage protection. Okay. So if you're not making your mortgage payments, this is an insurance basically that's going to jump in and make those payments for you to keep your mortgage current. Typically,
so how does it work?
Usually if a homeowner doesn't have at least 15% equity in their home, PMI is an automatic addition to their mortgage payment. So it's just a part of their mortgage payment that's paid in. It kind of goes into a fund basically that's there in case you're not able to make your payments, then it kicks in and starts making them for you until you're back on your feet. So you don't lose your home.
Like let's say you end up in the hospital.
Right, or you lose your job, whatever the case may be. Okay. So it's going to be there to kind of back you up. It's required in the industry if you don't have at least, I think it's 15% equity in your house. So if you're buying a house and you're putting 5% down, you're automatically going to have mortgage insurance included by law included in your package. But once you reach 15%, and with some entities it's 20%, then that will automatically come off unless you elect to keep it on.
So, and the question up there, does everybody need it? Well, by law, you just explained why some people might need it.
And you do have the option to keep it, once you aren't required to have it anymore, but most people would save the money because they're doing well enough at that time that it wouldn't cost them their house.
Okay, another topic, and that is the umbrella policy. We've talked about that, and so I walked into my insurance office several years ago, and this guy Harold said, you need to get an umbrella policy. And I said, what the heck is that? And then he explained it to me, and I said, why do I need that? I've already got insurance for this, that, and why do I need an umbrella? And he just glared at me. He didn't even answer. He goes, if I just explained it to you, if you don't know why. So what is an umbrella policy? Why do I need this?
Okay, first of all, an umbrella policy is a liability policy that piggybacks or umbrellas over all your other policies. So if you have an auto policy, a homeowner's policy, a boat policy, if you maybe own a second home, this is going to umbrella over all of those and give you at a minimum an additional $1 million of liability coverage.
Why do I need that?
Okay.
If I've already got liability built into my original coverage.
You do have liability built in your original coverage, but again, it's making sure that you have the right amount. So if you own a home, and you may not own the home outright, but you've got an asset there that's going to be usually at least $150,000, $200,000, okay? So if you cause an accident and you have $15,000 worth of liability coverage on your auto policy and you cause injuries, you're definitely going to be above that $15,000 mark and you're going to get sued. So because you didn't have enough coverage, now they're putting a lien on the house because you own a home. Now they're garnishing your wages to be able to recoup that money. If you don't own much assets, and you don't have a high-paying job, you don't need high limits. So someone who maybe is making minimum wage, who lives in an apartment, who doesn't own a car, they can deal with lower limits, $15,000, $25,000.
They don't need an umbrella.
They don't need an umbrella. They don't need high limits.
But the guy who has a great job, maybe has 2 cars, maybe owns a house here and maybe one up at Shaver, that guy needs an umbrella.
If you own a home and you have a decent paying job, so let's say you have a $200,000 home, you don't necessarily own it outright, but it's worth at least $200,000.
Okay.
You've got a job that's paying you $75,000 a year, and you've got a couple of cars.
Okay.
You're now looking at least $300,000 of assets and income that are at risk. So if you've got a auto policy that only has $100,000 of coverage per person, you're undercovered. If you've got a homeowner's policy that only has $100,000 of coverage, you're undercovered. You need to step those limits up. Now, an auto policy, you can go up to $500,000 of coverage. A homeowner's policy, you can go up to $500,000 of coverage. But now if you've got a high-paying job, you've got a house maybe that's worth $400,000, you've got some assets, you've got some investments, you've got a 401k or an individual retirement account. Now if you're exceeding that $500,000, you're going to want to get an umbrella, because now you'd rather have $1.5 million in coverage to make sure that you've got enough coverage for yourself and your family.
You know what my response was to Harold, my insurance agent? I said, you're trying to gouge me for more money, aren't you? And he just said, I'm trying to save you from yourself.
And here's the great thing. An umbrella policy, standard homeowner with 2 cars, $1 million umbrella policy is $239 a year.
A year, yeah.
So you're only looking at like $18 a month to have one. They're very inexpensive, but they're so well worth having.
Yeah, and after he explained it to me, I said, yeah, that makes sense, so I got it.
Here's another thing just to share. In the state of California right now, most accidents involving significant injuries, and we only have cases closed back to 2012. The newer cases aren't closed yet.
Right.
The average loss is over $300,000.
Wow. Alicia, we've only got 3 minutes, and I want to go through the final 3 here, so if we can
we'll race through.
Yeah, race through these quickly here. Number 8, is earthquake and flood insurance necessary in California?
Depending on where you live, earthquake insurance very well may be required. Flood insurance in certain areas is required.
What about Fresno?
Even in the valley. There's certain areas that are considered to be
Even
a flood
with the
zone. Oh yeah, but imagine one of the dams break, and now rivers are overflowing, and that's gonna damage people's homes. So there's certain areas in the Fresno area, in the valley, that are required to carry flood insurance.
Wow. So you got to ask your agent about that. All right.
Your mortgage company will require you to carry it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, homes in the mountains, forest or high brush areas. What about coverage there? The high risk. You're going to pay more?
You're going to pay more because it is a higher risk. It's a fire risk, and there's some companies that won't even insure you if you're in the mountains or if you're in what we call a high fire line.
Wow.
Farmers will.
Really? And what about? Okay, before I move on, why?
Why?
Because of the risk?
Because of the risk of fire.
Okay.
If you're in an area that you don't have fire hydrants close, or a full-time fire department that's close by, that's within 5 miles, if you don't have a hydrant that's within 1,000 feet of your home, you're considered a higher risk.
Yeah, and they won't cover. All right, quickly, roofing, composition, tile, shake. What's going to be cheaper in terms of coverage?
Your composition or your tile are going to be less expensive than your shake, because again, shake is more of a fire hazard.
Yeah.
And one thing that everybody can do to make sure that they're preventing fires to their homes is check your trees and brushes. If you've got trees that are touching your roof line, it's a fire hazard. If you've got trees that are hanging over your roof line within 2 feet, it's a fire hazard. Get them cut back.
Yeah, even in the city.
Even in the city, because if your tree catches fire and it's touching your roof, now your roof's catching fire.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, thank goodness I have a tile roof. But
tile roofs are the safest when it comes to preventing fire.
Yeah, you're a gracious guest, and
Thank
I appreciate your time. Very articulate, and thanks for the information.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure.
All right, thanks. Come back again.
I will.
All right, Alicia Dias from Farmers Insurance. That's going to do it for us here on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Back with another edition tomorrow. See you then. Have a great day.